Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon to everyone out there. Welcome to today's conversation. And I am Enolia, and you know our other co host, Sara Jane. And joining us today is Satyan. Oh my goodness, Vani. I'm so used to calling you Vani.
That's
Sat,
okay.
pronounce your first name the appropriate way so I don't butcher it.
Satyavani.
I want to say Satyavani, but I wasn't quite
Sounds good.
sure because I always want to pronounce that I. But Satyavani Akula, who is a phenomenal artist, is joining us today as our guest. And we're so happy to have you. So today's title is What is the Color of Your Life? What is the color of your life? And the reason that we're doing that is because of the beautiful artist that we have on the show today, Satyavani, and I'm going to affectionately call you Vani as I do,
Sure.
so that way it doesn't confuse me. and I just want to say a couple of words about meeting you. We invite people into our lives, and we never know what kind of impact that it's going to have. And it was about, I don't know, a few years ago, quite a few years ago, actually, that I signed up for a 2-day weekend to do a mandala painting.
Yeah, a dream mandala.
And it was over that weekend that we bonded. And so here we are, grateful for the teachings in art that I'm still taking to this day. um, we have just formed a beautiful, long-lasting friendship. So I'm going to turn it over to Vani and ask her to just say a few things about yourself
Thank you
for
very
us.
much, Enolia. That was very kind of you. Yes, it was a wonderful weekend. And we started off totally as strangers, even though we worked in the same corporation, right? You were in management, I was in database administration. And but we really bonded over that time. It was our love for art, for painting, and I think mostly it was what we were doing, following a dream and giving up a career, yeah, in the corporate world, which was quite steady at the time. So yeah, we bonded over that. And I'm a multi-passion artist. I do sculptures, paintings, and I'm also an Indian classical dancer. I teach kuchipudi and perform kuchipudi. So but I didn't always start that way. I have a master's in double master's actually in cytogenetics and molecular biology, and also pursued my career as a software engineer. So I think I followed my heart every time I switched careers, but I always did art. And when I met someone, his name was Tom Beekner. He was a professional artist. And when I saw him for the first time in my life, I met someone who I personally knew who was following the path of art, living the path of a professional artist. And he definitely wasn't a starving artist. So I thought, wow, there is hope, and so that gave me hope. And I contemplated a lot more. Different things happen in life where, I got to see where it was going, whether this was really what I was interested in or it was just a dream that I had. And, sometimes we fantasize about things that when we really get it, we are like, not really for me. So I had time to test it out for 3 months. I put my kids to bed, still kept my full time job, and painted one painting, one small painting for 3 to 4 hours, one a day for 3 months. It was tiring, but I still loved it. And that's when I switched. I said, I think this is what I would love to do. And yeah, so that's my journey as an artist.
How wonderful. So let's get into our topic. And I want to post this to all of us. And the first thing is like when I read, what does the color of your life look like? I really had to step back and think about this. So I'm not going to start. I'm going to start with Sara, but Sara Jane's been quiet. And what does the color of your life look like right now?
You see, I look back at my life and I realized just how grey it was. But now, the wake-up call puts so much colour into my life. I think when you live your passion, you live out of choice, you live from your heart, and you live to have experiences, that is when you put colour into your life. But as a child, everything is black and white. You see things as a yes, you can, no, you can't. There is no in between, there is no grey for a child, because that is how life is for a child. Yes, there's lots of colour around us, but it's our understanding of life. And so I think this colour of life, it depends where we are in our lives, what's going on in our lives, how old we are, as to how much colour there is and what those colours are in our life.
So that's wonderful. And, you know, I had to really sit back and think about this one. And in thinking about this one, I really didn't look back, because I realized that if I were to look at the color of my life, it would be one color and it would be limited, because I saw in a very limited view. If it's blue, it had to be blue, and it didn't waver out of the spectrum of blue. It didn't go through the full breadth of the colors of blue. It was just blue, right? So almost that same scenario of black and white. But when I look at the here and now, I almost say that it's black and white now, because between black, which to me represents the vastness of the universe, to white, which is the full spectrum embracing every single color. I waver through my greens, which is, it draws me to the earth so deeply. I waver through my blues, that connects me to the sea and all of the palettes of the blue, and the flow of blue. Okay? I think about the fire in me, and the red hot, the oranges and the reds that are red hot within me. And then I come full spectrum back to the clarity of white, because it's like air and source. And how that light and source embrace and flow all the way back through me, and then shows me that what I do and what I touch and how I perceive can be colorful. And that's how it came through. And it comes through to me in my art also. The art of life, the art of how I feed myself, the art of how I nurture myself, the art of how I do my work, the art of how I speak, the art of how I can be and how I choose to be right here, right now. So I had to reach deep to find that, though, because it was a matter of how I choose to look at the colors that are coming through me that paint my life, or just being that one color and going, oh, I'm trudging through life and this is the way it is. So it's so different for every person. So yes, I know it's a totally different way of seeing things. And Vani, I want to invite you to share with us.
So could you repeat the question, Enolia?
Sure. Just what does the color of your life look like?
For see, color is means so many things. At a very esoteric level, at a very practical level of what, as an artist, what color means, and color could mean emotion, or it could mean the essence, or the beauty of something. So for me, I think I embrace color as it comes. And I have been off late really reading a lot of Indian philosophy or Vedanta. And I really like what Vedanta has to say about the essence being divine, that we, are inherently colored or full of essence, and all we need to do is remove the dirt or the grim around us. And that is through the collection of the senses, that we are collecting, all the belief systems we are collecting, or whatever memories we are collecting. So right now, I think I'm just being more aware of color and just letting whatever color come in and just observe it, and see what it has to teach me. So I see color as an emotion too. So that's what I would say.
So I'm going to ask this question because not everybody understands that the picture that you're sitting in front of is yours. How did color break through the belief system of that? Here you are, this corporate woman, but you have this beautiful gift that wants to passionately come through.
Right.
How did you bridge that? Because there are many people out there who want to bridge that. They want to break out of the framework of this is what I have to do versus this is what is my passion, this is what I love to do.
So I was very naive in Olia. Not knowing the full truth helped me plunge into it. See, when I was starting out, I inherently grew up with this deep belief that I was capable of doing anything. Thanks to my dad, who really taught me to dream big. And my mom was very influential in making sure that I had the discipline to carry that through. She was the one who was enforcing stuff. So I always, I always thought that I could be something, but I never really followed being a professional artist because it was colored. My impression of what a professional life should be was colored by what I heard in society about artists not being able to make it. And finances were an important part. They so I it took me a while when I started off from the corporate job. It took me a while to understand that I might not be able to be as comfortable with what I'm making, and I was still okay doing that. And it is not a journey where I took the I made the jump of being an artist and then it has been uphill all the way. No, I experienced all different emotions after I made the plunge. Even though it was it is my passion and it's something I deeply wanted to do. But then all these questions started coming up too as to what is my contribution? If nobody sees my art, am I living a selfish life? What does creating art mean? And what does being an artist mean? So I had to do a lot of soul searching and come to a level of peace. And, does artist mean just creation? Are you constantly creating, or are you just staying back and, reaching your inner self? So it was a journey for me. And so to answer your question on what would I say to someone who is in that place where they're contemplating, there is no right or wrong way. Everybody has to search their own answer, and there is no right or wrong time. You know, you just do what works for you. But to have that clarity of thought, I think it is important to spend some time with ourselves. That is the key. And that time and the clarity will keep becoming clearer and clearer. It's like the mud settling in.
Yeah.
So, and every time we throw a doubt or it's a stone into that lake, then we do, ruffle the waters a little bit, the mud comes up, and then it takes time. Getting inside and understanding takes time. It settles down.
Yeah. Sara Jane, do you want to comment?
I do actually, because I'm thinking I'm no artist. Well, not painting anyway. We're all artists in our own way. But I just think about information I've seen about art and how they build up the colors. So they'll do a layer of a color, which could be is the background layer, and then they'll layer and layer and layer colors on top of that and build colors. But isn't that what life is? Life is about those layers, and sometimes scraping back a color to that previous layer or a couple of layers below. And that's what life is about. So from what I'm aware of art, it isn't just a matter of, okay, and looking at your beautiful picture behind, I am pretty certain you have worked with layers to create that. I'm looking at the flower right behind your head, and it's got a little bit of color in it. And what did you do? And obviously every petal looks as if it's showing. But that you start in a place and then you build on it. And isn't that what life is about? Every experience you have adds another hint of color to your life, adds another hint of color to your canvas.
So there are two ways to, talk about that one. Especially when we are relating the painting or the creation of art to how we are living life. So what you refer to is an oil painting. Okay. In that you can build color over color, and you do build that. But then there's another way to paint too, which is sure, one way of, living your life where you're building on your experience and you're going through. But there is watercolor too. And watercolor is something that when you look at something, you need to start with a clear picture in your mind. Because you're not building layer over, you are, but you have to leave the transparency of the paper. So I would say you have to leave the transparency of the spirit, where you're constantly getting in touch with that and seeing, am I covering it up with what I'm doing? Or am I keeping that freshness, that brightness of the paper shine through? So, yeah.
That's really beautiful. And that leads me into the next question. Because I just took a class with Vani called Connect and Sketch. And I think this is so important because many of us, we look at life and we look at the objects in life as the objects that they are. And what I learned in your class that just blew me away is how to truly connect with the object or the view or the person or what I am drawing or even the picture.
Right.
That brings you to a whole nother level. And I can't articulate truly in terms of art, and I want you to do that, but I can articulate in life. So I'll comment on the life part.
Okay, sounds good.
It changed the way that I look at life, but I want you to comment on the connection first.
Oh, thank you. Yes, the course was Sketch to Connect, where I teach how to connect with objects through sketching. But it is not just about connecting to objects. It's actually about connecting to yourself. The course is about connecting to your own self. What I said about the color or the essence of life, and that being covered by all our belief systems, and we removing the dirt. I think that's what sketching does. When we sketch something from life, the first thing that happens is we are forming a connection between that object and us, whatever the object is. whether it's something that's living or non-living. There is a connection that happens between that and us. And then, as we are sitting down and observing and going through the process of sketching it, it becomes us. Because we are observing. And this is very true, especially when you do portraits, because the other person is also able to tell you through their emotional experience and through their facial expressions that there is a connection that's happening. So it becomes very obvious when we do. So what happens is, once we do that, first, that happiness that comes from that connection happens in the artist. And once we are truly present with that object and not in our head thinking, oh, I need to do a great painting or I need to do this, once we are truly sitting with the object and getting them down onto the paper, the connection that happens translates into the paper. And that's when you look at certain pieces of art and you go, wow, I don't know what it is, but that is awesome. And we did have some students in our class who haven't drawn in like 40 years, 30 years, 50 years too. And we were able to, and they had picked up, and they did not consider themselves artists, but the images that came were so honest, so good, that you can feel that life in the drawing. Basically, you pour it. And what happens is, you're creating a memory in your head of that pleasantness, of sitting with that feeling of contentment, of creation. And that memory is, you're building that muscle memory. And that, I think, enhances the way we live, the quality of life.
Yeah.
Without even working on it, without even thinking about it, it just naturally happens. It's a byproduct. And I think that's why art is created everywhere. It's created in prisons, it's created in, everywhere, in poverty.
Yes, it is. It is. And then what I learned, one of the greatest lessons that I learned. So we had to just pick an object to draw, and of course the most obvious one is an apple, right? And so here we are in our belief systems. Oh, I can't show my work until it's really polished, pretty, and everything. So I had drawn several apples, and Vani had us show all of the actual apples that I had drawn. And sketching means you're not thinking. That's why it's called sketching. You do it in a minute, 2 minutes, you're done. Drawing, you're trying to perfect it. Okay? I had drew 4 or 5 apples that I thought were really, really great. And I had sketched 2. And we all voted on what apples we liked. Everyone liked the sketched. The messy, the not perfected, the not, polished. And when you bring that back to akin to life, we have this perception that we have to be polished, we have to have everything perfected, we have to have everything just right, every T cross I dotted, in order to be viewed a certain way. And first of all, that's our judgment of how we have to be viewed. And then everybody else's judgment is she perfect enough? Which there's no such thing as perfect. And then yet, in life, in reality, everybody liked the messier, the one that wasn't every T crossed, every I dotted, the most. And to me, that spoke volumes. Sara, can you bring a story like that to us too?
No, but I can bring a quote that literally came to me. I think it was this morning.
Okay.
Every child is an artist. The problem is how to remain an artist once we grow up. Pablo Picasso.
Perfect.
And I think that is it, because a child just draws. That's it. The sentence stops there. But I would like to bring it at the moment, because we've got a lady called Marthy who's joined us from Sri Lanka, and I know her, so that's how I know where she is. And she's put, oh my God, it was my reality. Artists are poor. And so maybe this is an aspect of being able to say, it's about the color of our life is about living the passion of our life, whatever that is. And it's with yourself, Satyavani, you carried on with your normal life, but you brought your art back into it because that was your real passion. That was something that was always an aspect of your life. And so whether it is art, whether it is music, what sculpting, whatever it is, and there are so many, sewing, knitting, there are so many different forms of art. We should never keep it as a tight little knot of what is art, because it's way beyond that. And I think it's about, okay, I think what we're doing right now is a form of art. It's a sharing of voice. It's a sharing of knowledge. It's a sharing of thought, a sharing of heart. And that's all about the color of our lives that are all different experiences. And it's just being true to you. At school, art class, no, forget it. I was really no good. But I had one teacher at one time, and it was we got a grey sheet of paper, and we were given chalk and charcoal. And I think it was a conch shell, so it's sort of quite rounded and sort of whatever. I can't believe, for me, it was beautiful, because actually I don't think it had defined lines, because you were rubbing with your finger and I wish I still had it, but I don't. Because for me, the art of that, and okay, it was on grey paper and it was using white and black and fading it to grey. But for me, it was brilliant. So I think we all have that ability. It's whether we choose it, whether it's a real passion, and if that isn't, what is?
So I have something to add to what you just said, Sarah. It is not about being good or bad. I think that's the first thing we need to really focus on. And I think that's where most of the problem for, I have a lot of people who see my messages, reply and say, wow, I used to draw this many years ago. And I always follow up with a question, why? And they say, oh, I wasn't good. Good according to whom?
Yeah, exactly.
You drew for a reason, right? I mean, you liked it. So will you do something? I mean, do we stop singing because we are not great singers? No, a lot of us sing in the bathrooms. We sing during driving. We sing. Why? Because once you sing, it goes away into ether. There is no proof that you sang bad, but it made you feel good, so you did it. But when you draw, there is a proof that you're comparing. So what I tell is just draw, crumble the paper and throw it away. But do it, sketch it, because sketching is one way that you can really, it is actually one of the art forms where you can truly connect with something that is outside of yourself to the environment. And in the process, you connect with yourself.
Yeah.
So I think that this is perfect segue into belief systems, because we sit there and we ask about how do we add color to our lives? Well, what prevents color being added to our lives are our belief systems. And that's really what we're all alluding to. And also in addressing to the beautiful woman in Sri Lanka, we have these belief systems that says, somebody might have said, oh my God, you really think you can sing? Don't ever sing in public. And they might have did that to you at 8 years old. But that stayed with you all the way through your adult life until whenever. And the impact of that it had on you, was devastating. Those are the belief systems we got to let go. Those things where it's like, oh, like I had this belief system of I would never be an author, I'd never be a writer. I don't write. I had a teacher who told me I needed, my writing was horrendous, blah, blah, blah. Stick with the sciences, honey, because English is not your thing. And I wrote my first book, and how dare they? How dare they? And I could tell you that gentleman, that guidance counselor's name to this day because it devastated me
Oh, wow.
when he said that to me. So we have to break out of our belief systems of what we've been groomed. It's like a horse with blinders, and all we could do is say straight ahead. I've had people say, "Oh, don't ever wear such and such color. That doesn't look good on you." And I find that I don't wear those colors. Now I go out and I find them. And what you have to do is you have to crumble that belief system. I don't care where it's founded from, because if it does not make you feel good inside, if it does not give you the ability to look at life in a beautiful way, it does not serve you. If it does not tell you that you can soar and that you can be any or everything that you want to be, it is not serving you. We come to this life for a reason, and we only have a season to live it. Why would we hold anything back that we wouldn't try? And I believe this so deeply. I remember when I got out of college, I wrote down this list because I got married shortly out of college, right? So it didn't leave a whole lot of time where I was just off on my own. But I wrote this list of all the things that I was going to do, whether I was married or not.
Mm.
I was going to learn how to golf. I was going to learn how to scuba dive. I was going to learn how to horseback ride. I was going to learn. I had all of these things. I've done them all. Why not?
Yeah.
There's no reason why I couldn't. And I never called myself. I was one of those people Bonnie's talking about. I never called myself a drawer. I draw all the time. Since I've taken your class, I draw all the time. I draw
And
all the time.
you draw beautifully. I mean, your sketching. I mean, from the first class to the third class, I was like, Enolia. Yeah, you followed the advice, so it really, and kept consistent at your practice. So
Yeah.
awesome.
But it's those moments that it's inside. We have to look inside. We keep looking external to ourselves, external for judgment, external for feedback. It's inside. And it's inside that has to move us forward. It's inside that has to come out. You, as an artist and a teacher, brought something out of me inside. You in your paintings bring something from inside outwards. And that's where I believe we have to source, is from inside out, and stop going outside in. I mean, does anybody else want to comment on that one? It's just like the realization's hitting me now. We're always going outside in. It's got to come from inside out. And when it does, it's beautiful.
But sometimes that distinction of what is outside and what is inside is not clear. You know?
Mm.
See, for me, when I decided to do this online course on sketching, I was gearing it towards all the people who had told me that, they haven't sketched in so many years, but they used to love doing it. Then I thought about, what about me? What about me? What is something that I would love to do that I haven't done that I used to do when I was young? And it was a musical instrument, veena. And I had that instrument in my house for more than 30 years, but I never did it. I used to play it when I was young. So, and I don't know, I don't recall anybody telling me that I wasn't good at it. I just, didn't find the time which I thought to do that in addition to doing my dance and doing my my sketching, painting, taking care of the house and my children. And then when COVID came, I really sat back and I thought, if I were to die of COVID, what would I like to be doing? And I thought that veena was still on my list. So, and I also thought about, if I'm giving people the advice that you should be taking this up, then I'm going to follow that advice. I'm not going to be this hypocrite. So I found an online teacher. I signed up. And I'm on that journey. I dedicated so when I started up, I made the pact with the teacher that I'm only going to be practicing half an hour a day, not more than that. So we are going to move at a slow pace, but I'm going to be, I will definitely be at a better place a year from now. And if something were to happen, then it's going to happen while I'm living what I want to do. So I was very clear on that. But interestingly, as I started practicing more, now I wake up earlier so I can put in my 1 hour of practice for Veena. So it is something that is doable. It is just, and time is, we find time. There is a lot of time in between that we just let it go. So if it is something we want to do, then we really need to sit down and think,
Mhm.
is it an external thing or an internal thing, or how can I make time for it, and is it even important? But if we think it is important, to definitely work on it. So to the lady from Sri Lanka, work on it. For many years, I sketched and painted with no intention of being a professional artist. And when I decided to switch, all that training helped me because I was observing, I was building up my technique, my talent, my ability to see as an artist, which is different. You notice the nuances in how the light is, how the texture of something is. So I was building all that information in my head without even realizing that I would do something useful. That's the word I was coming to. Is this useful? You know, I remember when I was teaching in kindergarten, when my kids were young, and one student, said, "I don't think this is, I love to draw, but you know, my parents tell me this is useless. I need to be doing something useful." And at that moment, I didn't know what to tell the child. I just said, "Well, if you like it, make some time to do it." I said, "Do you like watching TV? So maybe you can take some time from that, or, do this." But I think there is a lot of categorization that we do, that this is useful and this isn't useful. And we are, when it is something with the material body, we are very clear about this is what we need to eat, this is what we need to exercise. But when it comes to the mind, what are we feeding it?
Mm.
Art is definitely useful because we are feeding the mind, we are strengthening it. That is the exercise for the mind. That is something that is not so clearly visible. But I think art has a place. That's why there is art therapy,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
I think with all of it, we all come from different backgrounds and different experiences within our lives. And my whole thing from a very, very young age was feeling unwanted, unloved, not good enough, and a waste of space. Not from anything that was said, but from a whole load of actions and experiences that left a child not being able to understand what was going on. So that was nobody's fault. That was a situation that occurred, but it left me that way. So were there things I wanted to do? No. Because if anybody said to me, "What do you want?" I was brought up with, "I want, don't get." So don't ask me if there's anything I want, because I'll tell you I don't want anything. So, you making your list, great. But there was no way I was ever going to be doing a thing like this because I wasn't worthy of any of that. And to find that I managed to draw one picture that looked really good to me, doesn't matter what it looked like to others, it really looked good to me, was amazing. But I was always looking for people to say to me, "That's good, you're good," etc., because I was looking for that validation because I didn't feel it was there. But as I came into my wake up call, it was, hang on, this is my life. It doesn't matter what other people's judgments are. So my life was very grey. Yes, I did some things, but not a lot. But then it was just like, okay, so I became a member of the UK Wolf Conservation Trust. And I got to walk with the wolves because I actually became a trainee handler with them.
Oh,
Life can take on colour in many different ways. And actually having the opportunity be up so close and personal with these amazing creatures. Now, there will be those who are thinking, oh, art, I'd love to draw. Do it. They are beautiful creatures. They really are. And they're very misunderstood too, bless them. But there is so much in life. I have had so many experiences in the last 20 years, including, being strapped to the wings of an aeroplane and doing a wing walk. And so the plane takes off with me on its wings,
wow.
But it's about taking your life back. And I've said, actually, like a friend of mine treated me, I didn't just get a ride in a helicopter, I got to fly it. It's just like, but not everything has to cost huge amounts of money. But it's just like, do you know what? Go out and try new things. And if it's not new and it's something that you used to do, but I have so few memories of childhood because I was such an unhappy child. So I can't draw on childhood memories because they're not there. But other people can. So we're all in different places within our lives. But it's up to each and every one of us from our inside, from our heart. What speaks to you?
Absolutely.
That's the essential thing. What is speaking to you? What is calling to you? And that is what puts the color, whatever color that colors that may be, into our lives.
I so agree with you. And I sit back and I think about it. Color to me is vibration. Vibration is the essence of who we are. And like you had said earlier, both of you actually, Vani and Sarah Jane, it's about embracing the essence of who we are and letting that best part come out. There is no life without imagination. There just isn't. Even if you're in the most highly technical position, we need to brainstorm. What is that? Creativity. It's creativity. There has to be creativity and imagination in everything we do. And to lose that is to lose life, to me. So just really learning that the best part of me and the best version of me coming forward is that embraces in creativity and the love of what I see, and to see life in color. Because some of us don't see life in color at all. Like you said before, Sarah Jane, in black and white, there is no gray. And learning how to get comfortable in the gray, learning how to live life in the gray. I mean, that's what makes life a beautiful journey. If every single thing was planned out and there were no surprises at all in life, life would be quite boring. And some of us like life that way, but I would venture to say, step out of that comfort zone. Step out of the bubble. Because your heart's desire doesn't operate in a bubble. It operates beyond the bubble. It's the part that makes you uncomfortable. The ego loves the bubble. It's comfortable, fits like a good old shoe, and I'm always there. So where do we start to bring color into our life? Start with taking a step and adding something that you just never embraced before, and try something new. Or just break down a limited belief system of what you aren't capable of doing and develop it and try it like you did with your instrument, Van.
It's interesting, Enolia, what you say about seeing in black and white. Because when you do oil paintings, the first thing you try to do is see it in a value, and the
Mm,
value is a grayscale value, because with color, the color can be chroma, it can be saturation, it can be brilliance, right? So, and color, what is next to, by inherently, color is about reflection. The color we see is actually the color that is reflected. All the other colors are absorbed, right? So it colors what is next to it. So when you paint, you always try to see what, even for a color like red, what is its value? That means, how does it look in black and gray? And for me, with reference to life, I would say, that is how we should see things, as to what is the truth, what is the fact versus the drama we are adding in.
And see, to me, I look at that as the foundation. See, there are multiple tiers of how I like to view. There's the fact, there's the emotional state, there's the perceptual state, and then there's the spiritual state. And when I am in my spiritual eyes, I can see the value, I can see the black and white, I can see the facts, I can see the emotional, I can see it all. And I want to embrace it all and put it in perspective in my life. But I love your definition of that, because it's all a part of us.
Yeah.
But the question is, what part of that leads us in our lives?
In.
Oh, right, she's back.
She's back.
You've grown.
I was trying. We lost you for a moment.
Okay, so what part of us leads, and then if once we understand what part of us leads, is that the part we want to lead us through life? See,
Yes.
some of us lead just through facts, but then we have no imagination, no vision, and all we see is the value, right? And then some of us only lead with our emotional state, and all we see is, well, in black and white, here were the facts, and we're reacting to it. We're constantly reacting to it. And some of us perceive, well, I perceive this, but what if other people perceive me wrong? And we have the worry there. But to embrace all of it, good, better, and different, how it fits in our lives, understanding how it fits in our lives, and then making a choice.
Yeah, the clarity and the awareness.
Clarity, yes.
Yeah.
And that's why I guess even when we opened, I said, I'm in and out of all of the colors. I love it all. I love it all. So, wow. Is there anything else you want to add to that? That to me, this is a beautiful conversation.
Yeah. I don't know what, like in the context of what.
So, can we really live our lives in full color? And I kind of feel like this is like how we want to end it on a note of living life in full color. What does living life in full color mean to you? Let me phrase it that way.
I think I'll go back to my initial statement from the Vedanta, where when you see color as the essence or the truth, then we are already in full color. We just have to remove the grim and the dirt that has, that's like an old beautiful painting, but that's been covered by all these belief systems, all these emotions, all these reactions. If we are just so awareness, creating the awareness will slowly remove these layers, living a life where we are aware of our thoughts and able to sit with whatever comes to us, is, I think. So I would say essentially we are full of color, and just the awareness of not covering up that color would be perfect.
It's beautiful.
It is. It's about unlearning so much of what we've learnt, to give our hearts, ourselves, our souls the freedom to be who we are without any judgment from ourselves or from anybody else, letting go of all of that, because we're all here in our own amazing uniqueness. The colors of the rainbow are for all of us. And it's our choice what we embrace and what we let go. And I've decided I'm embracing life. And I intend to keep experiencing when lockdown's over.
You know, I see it as that we are multi-dimensional beings, and color is the best representation of us.
Mm-hmm.
It is at every level. It has that, you know, it can be seen in so many different ways. It has such a huge spectrum, such a vastness about it, that it really can't fully be defined. We are color, and color is us. We are that vibration, and that vibration is us. And, you know, that's it. That's it. Because there's color in everything. Everything. From the most sacred of the sacred, from the unseen to the seen. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
This was lovely, Enolia.
This has been brilliant. Thank you for inviting Satyavani along, Enolia. This is lovely. And not long before the end, you mentioned about vibration, which leads us perfectly into our program in, well, just under a fortnight actually, because it's going to be on Wednesday, the 23rd of September, exploring sound as a vibration. And we are going to be joined by Jill Matson. Those of you who have watched the Gift of Healing TV programs will probably have met Jill. Jill is an author, a musician, an artist, and I'm sure we're going to have another wonderful conversation with Jill. So a great big thank you to Satyavani for joining us.
Thank you very much, Enolia and Sara. It was wonderful.
It's been an absolute pleasure. It really has. And I really hope that, and I know we've had some people watching us live. That's wonderful. I hope, and the fact that you've stayed with us, which is even better. So I hope this has really spoken to you. And those of you that watch the recording, we do these programs with the hope that actually they do help speak to you and help you to live your life to the fullest. And Martha's just said thank you. So thank you for being with us and for commenting. It's lovely to have the comments. Thank you to both of you. Thank you to everybody. And we will see you again. At the moment, our aim is to continue with these programs once a fortnight, on a Friday and on a Wednesday. So join us. Let's see what's coming next. Thank you, ladies. Namaste to you all.
Thank you.
Take care. And we do get cut straight off. So bye.